submitted to CDSCO. So a clinical trial application is submitted for a clinical investigation device, which means a clinical study that can be performed on an investigational medical device, and that study will be performed on the human participants to assess the safety, performance, and effectiveness of the device. So when we call an investigational medical device, it has to be a new it has to be a device with a new intended use or new population that they are claiming for, or new material or a major design change which is not so far approved in India. Then we call it as a investigational medical device, and for this investigational medical device you can do a clinical trial in India. So there are other factors for which you can also perform a clinical trial. If you want to make any slight modifications in the device, and if you want to check the safety and performance of that device, then you can do a clinical investigation in Indian population. And if you do not have a predicate so far in India, in terms of material of construction, design, or intended use, your device is so unique, then also you need to perform a clinical trial in India. So there are two types of applications that can be used to do a clinical investigation in India, both for manufacture and also for sale in India. If you're doing that investigation only on a limited quantity or a very few quantity of devices, then you can use this application for test license to manufacture small quantities for the purpose of clinical investigation or other testing. So you can submit an application in Form MD12, and you can get this test license from the CDSCO and manufacture the devices in India. And if you want to perform a clinical investigation for the device that has to be imported from a foreign country, you'll have to submit a form in Form MD16 for the test license to import this small quantities into India to do the clinical investigation. But if your device is very unique and if you want to do a clinical, full length clinical trial in India, then you will have to submit an application in Form MD20, 22, sorry, MD22 for the new medical device, and you'll need another form of MD24 for a new IVD to perform a clinical trial in India. So these are few of the important information that you need to understand about the clinical trial. So here is the information that has to be submitted in a clinical trial application to CDSCO. So we have listed down each of the information that is required to be submitted in the application. So like a clinical trial protocol, the informed consent form along with its translation undertaking from the investigator or the investigator's brochure, or the list of laboratories where you're going that are going to be part of the study, or the case report forms, and so on and so forth. We have listed all the information here for your easy reference. All this information has to be submitted to CDSCO in the application along with the requisite fees. Then the CDSCO will review the application and will confirm you whether you can proceed with the clinical trial or not. So these are few of the requirements for a clinical trial. So there is another important application that will be filed to CDSCO, and most commonly submitted to CDSCO is the manufacturing license application. So let us understand the requirements for the manufacturing license. So after classification of the medical devices, depending upon the class of the medical devices, you will be submitting the application to CDSCO. For class A and B, the state licensing authority will be responsible to will be responsible to issue the manufacturing license. So, for example, if the company is based in Hyderabad, then the Telangana state licensing authority will be responsible for issuing the manufacturing license for the device. You might have noticed another term called loan license here. So this is also a commonly used terminology for local Indian manufacturers. So if you do not have a manufacturing facility in India, but you know someone who already have a manufacturing license and is manufacturing similar kind of device that you want intended to manufacture in India, in that case, you can approach that manufacturer to lend or to loan his facility for you to perform to manufacture the device that you intend to in their premises. In that case, if you can apply a loan license to the CDSCO stating that you are going to take the loan of the already existing manufacturer, with a manufacturing license and you're going to manufacture in their premises. So that application we call it as a loan license. So both manufacturing licenses and manufacturing loan licenses will be issued by the state licensing authority for class A and B devices. And in case of class A, there will be no audit of the manufacturing facility before issue of the license. After you submit an application to CDSCO, the CDSCO will review the application, and if they find it appropriate, they will issue the license. After issuing the license, they depending on their availability, they will come for an audit. So there is no audit required prior to issue of the license for class A devices. This exemption is only provided for class A. So then the application that will be submitted to CDSO will be Form MD3 for manufacturing license for Class A and B devices. MD4 will be submitted for loan license applications. So for Class B, the audit will be done by the notified body, or the state licensing authority will audit the manufacturing site within 90 days from the date of submission of the application. Only if the site is complying all the requirements for the as per the CDSCO quality management system, only then the notified body or the third party will issue the license to the manufacturer. So the important thing to note here is that there is an intervention of a third party here for the audit of the premises. So it can be a notified body or the state licensing authority that will come for the audit of class A and B manufacturing sites. So moving on to class C and D requirements. So for the central licensing authority will be responsible for granting the manufacturing license for class C and D. So this application will be submitted in MD form MD7, and for form MD8 it is a loan license for class C and D. And the central licensing authority will appoint a notified body, or they themselves will come for an audit of the manufacturing site before issuing the approval. So that is why we have discussed before on the classification of the device. Why we say that the confirmation of the classification is a crucial step is because depending on the type of the classification, your application to CDSCO varies. If your classification is class A and B, your application will go to state licensing authority, and if your classification is class C or D, your application will go to the central licensing authority. Since we have different forms here for the manufacturing license, it is important to confirm the classification of the device first. So then moving on to the process of manufacturing license. Here we have put up a step-by-step process on how to file the manufacturing license application. First, the manufacturer needs to create an account in the CDSCO online page for medical devices. This link is specific to medical devices. So they'll have to create an account first with specific requirements. And after creating the account, they'll have to file an application for the test license and for testing and generation of quality data, which is required at a later stage to prepare the regulatory dossier. So in the preparation of the regulatory dossier, you would need to file all the regulatory documents along with the plant master file for the manufacturing premises and device master file for the device. Along with the documentation, you will be submitting the requisite fees based on the class of the device and the number of devices you are putting in the application. And the application has to be submitted in the CDSCO portal. And CDSCO will take 6 to 9 months to review the application, depending upon the to and fro discussions with the CDSCO and the notified body audit of the manufacturing site. Depending on those timelines, this timeline of 6 to 9 months varies for each device. And then depending on the class of the device, the audit of the audit will be done whether by the notified body or the central licensing authority. And if found satisfactory, the CDSCO will issue the license, and which will be this license will be valid for valid perpetually, and it has to be renewed for every 5 years with the requisite fees that has to be paid to CDSCO. So these are the few of the requirements for manufacturing license that will be submitted to CDSCO. Let us understand this process of manufacturing license with a typical case study. So we have put together an example for your better understanding of how a manufacturing license can be applied. So now we had an Indian manufacturer, for example, say a company name XYZ, and he was manufacturing a software medical devices, and he did not had any predicate registered in India. So he this client had few challenges to register this device. So the challenges that they faced are the new regulations for the software medical device, since this product has been brought into Indian market very recently. The new regulations were very, very uncertain for the Indian manufacturer to understand the process. And then confirmation on the classification of the device in India was also very doubtful for the client. And because of the absence of the predicate or the similar device in India, the client was uncertain whether they had to go for a clinical trial, or whether they have to file a manufacturing license in India. So they, with these challenges in mind, they were not sure how to proceed further. So they have reached out to HC Healthcare, and these are few of the solutions that we gave to the manufacturer. So we have identified the device as class B based on the classification given by the CDSCO for the software medical device. And depending on the class B classification, we have filed an application to the state licensing authority. Since it's a new device, we have submitted all the requisite software verification and validation data along with the design control and the test reports. So since we have submitted the requisite data to establish the safety and reliability of the device, we have submitted the application to the state licensing authority. So the client successfully received the manufacturing license in 8 months, and they were able to gain market access without any need for a clinical trial, since we have submitted the sufficient data to CDSCO. And the client was also able to bring the device into market, complying all the new regulations. So maybe they were uncertain earlier on what has to be complied for the manufacturing side or for the device, but after approaching HC, they have followed all the rules that has to be adhered by the site as well as the device, and they were able to gain the market access easily. So this was a small case study for your understanding. So let us move into the next type of